Alright everyone, Cody here, and welcome back to Chicken Hole Base, the series where I'm building a self-contained biosphere similar to what you'd expect humans to live in off of Earth. Mars, Moon, maybe even an asteroid. You can see critter acquisition and termination systems right here. They've been trying to capture a gopher that's living in the lawn. They haven't caught anything yet, but they're sure trying. You can see it's been about 60 days since the last episode was filmed. Most of the snow's melted off, the grass is growing. We're definitely coming into early spring. I've moved the totes over there so they quit killing the grass. You can see there's a bit of a yellow spot where they were. Anyway, I recently went up to Oregon to have my measurements taken and also familiarize myself with the spacesuit. But when I got back, the door to the chicken coop was open. In fact, I'll put in a clip here. That's not good. Why is that door open? The chicken's even here. I see tracks. There's one chicken. There's two chicken. There's three chicken. Where's the rooster? So the rooster, King Bach, for whatever reason, he liked to roost on the axle of that Jeep trailer there. And that's where I found him, at least what was left of him. Looks like a fox or something got to him. Ended up burying him over here. He was one of the smartest chickens I've ever had. He's definitely a loss. He's also the last of the chickens that I initially brought out here. I've since brought out some more. In fact, this chicken right here, which also seems to like being underneath trailers, is King Bach's daughter, which I guess now makes her Queen Dusty. I'd like to get some eggs from her and hatch them and see if I can get another rooster. But of course, I don't have a rooster right now, so the eggs will be unfertile. So I need to bring in another rooster. I'll probably bring in some other chickens as well, just so I can have more biodiversity, genetic diversity. But I think before I bring any more chickens out, we're gonna upgrade this chicken coop. It's not great. Got them through the winter. This is the first winter I've had chickens here all year, but we gotta get them something better. So let's head on over to the Mark II green hab, see how things are doing in there. Remember last episode I planted some seeds. Let's see how they're doing. So I've just got the door wired shut for now. It needs a door handle, but this works. Hey, you gonna hop in there? I normally don't let him go in, but as long as I'm here to watch him. So, first thing is my visor fogged up so I can't see. Hang on. Okay, that's better. So, I've got some more plants here. So this is arugula. It's been doing really well. I actually just thinned it. Took a whole salad out of here last night. It was great. So I've grown this crop outdoors before, and I can already tell you that this stuff is different than the stuff I've grown outside. So first of all, it's longer and spindlier. It doesn't stand up as well. It's easier to bend and break, and also it bruises easily. So the plants are very delicate that have grown in here. Also, they're not as spicy, so they have a milder flavor. So growing it inside of this tank is definitely changing the crop some. I think that's because of the low amounts of light that are able to get in, and also the fact that I've blocked basically all of the wind. So we've got the arugula, there's some spinach, which also does pretty well. Got some broccoli, which is really leggy. Carrots. Got some lettuce, along with carrots, because I forgot I planted the carrots there. More carrots. Here's some of the radishes and peas. Oh, careful boy, don't step on that. See how tall the peas are? They're a lot thinner than plants grown outside, but yeah, they seem to be doing okay. I've also got this here. So I've decided that these buckets could be used as a little planter. See, I got some plants growing in there. Thinking maybe I'll put a potato, maybe a sweet potato in there. Do all of these. It'll give me a little of extra growing space. Now you might ask, do I have any problems with weeds in here? Generally no, because weed seeds can't blow in. But there is this. See this little guy? There's another one right here. And one here. So these are actually the bee plants. Look at that, that's almost 4 inches tall. I didn't intentionally put them here, but the seeds must have been in the soil. So you remember those plants were growing next to the tub where I had the soil, so some of the seeds must have made it through. There's another one right there. And I've decided to let them grow because the leaves are edible. You can eat them just as well as you can spinach. They have a similar nutrient profile. One thing I am worried about, though, is they are more susceptible to high humidity, and so they'll probably have powdery mildew on them. I'd say as soon as that happens, pull them out. Maybe even before. They may never get to flower, but we can give it a try. There are some of these bee plants that are also sprouting outside the greenhouse. You can see them here. Notice how much smaller they are. Tells you that the greenhouse is beneficial to them. Things are a little bit sad because it froze last night. You can see how their leaves are a little bit wilted. But things are doing okay. If not growing a little slow. Like normally you would harvest a radish after 20 or 30 days. This is 60 days of radish growth. So it's maybe half as fast, but a lot of that's probably because it's been cold. But let's weigh this radish. I've been trying to be sort of scientific, so 16 grams. So far I've collected about 200 grams of radish and another 200 grams of arugula. Hey boy, you're gonna have to stay on the concrete. Is it warm in here? Huh? Yeah, you see, from freezing to over 80 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few hours. So, yeah, one of the major problems I'm going to have is cooling the greenhouse. So temperature regulation is what this structure here is for. So this is basically a radiator. This will have brine, magnesium chloride water solution, pumped through these pipes. They'll snake up this trellis. This does double duty, it's something for the peas to climb on. And then after exchanging heat with the greenhouse, it'll leave, goes into a reservoir here with a pump, and it'll go down into some tanks to exchange heat over there. I'll show you that in a second. This is mainly for heating during the winter, but it could also be used for cooling. In fact, we're going to test that out. So this is going to be basically a backup cooling system. Like if it gets too hot in here, I'll have the pump kick on, and we'll see if it's able to lower the temperature. Run it for maybe half an hour or so, and then we'll turn it off and see if the temperature comes back. That will eliminate any insulation that might be happening with the sun. So this is the The reservoir I was talking about, this is where the pump and also a filter is located. So that pumps down through a coil of tubing, which is inside this tote. You might be able to see in there. Maybe. There's several of them. So that's 3 tons of water can be used to absorb heat and then release it later. So right now I've just got a solar panel, a battery, an inverter. This is all work in progress, but it should come on. It's currently drawing about 80 watts. I might use a smaller pump, because that seems a little excessive, because it just needs to move the water. But now that it's on, what I'll do is I'll wire this shut again so the door doesn't open, so we don't get the heat just leaving. But first I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to put it in there and we're going to time lapse the thermometer. So let me go do that. I got a little tripod here. It is loads cooler in here. So first of all, it's decreased by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But what's actually more significant is the humidity is decreased. It was basically 100% humidity, but now, because these pipes have absorbed heat from the air, it's caused the water to condense. The water condensing out of the air has lowered the humidity, which is great because it makes it feel cooler, not just for people, but also for plants. Because plants, part of the way that they cool is by evaporating water out of their leaves, just like human sweating. And if the humidity is lower, that's more effective. And also, the water drips down and is recovered by the plants. Now, it's not really ideal to do this when there's a bunch of plants here, because then the water will be dripping onto their leaves. But it is better than burning up in the heat. So now, let's turn off the pump and see if the temperature comes back up. So I'll just turn off the inverter. I'm also going to unhook the solar panel so it doesn't overcharge the battery. And we'll just set the camera back up, wire this shut, and see if the temperature rises again. It is just after midday now. So there we go. Half an hour with the pump off, and the temperature came back up a little bit. It's not as dramatic of a change, I think, because the water here is evaporating and that's pulling heat into it. But definitely the humidity's gone back up and it feels way hotter. And the final thing I wanted to mention is how I'm watering the greenhouse. So I've got these soaker lines that go around, coming out of this pipe here, which goes up the hill. So that line comes out right there. It comes up the hill, past the cat, up to this bucket right here. This is how I've been watering the greenhouse for now. I can just bring a little bit of water up here every now and then. And it'll send it down to that soaker tubing. Right now the greenhouse isn't perfectly sealed and so it loses a little bit of water. And this is how I've been keeping it topped off. This system here is only temporary, and in fact is the very next thing that I'm going to replace. The first step was to command RoboCody to go dig a tunnel underneath of the green hab. I'm having him dig underneath to access the underside of the tank right here so we can install a drain. There it is. We've now got a drain in the floor. So say this right here leaks a bunch of magnesium chloride into the habitat. Now magnesium chloride isn't very toxic, but if there's gallons of it, that's a problem. So the plan is, if that happens, is to flood this whole system and basically wash the salt out. And it's going to go down that hole and then off to a reservoir somewhere in that direction. But this is only going to be used very rarely. Most of the time, air is going to be coming up here. The air is going to get heated up by the sun. It's going to absorb moisture from the water evaporating off the plants. It'll be hot and humid. It'll rise and go out this hole here, which is currently plugged off. So this tank that I just had RoboCody install will be filled with water and used as a heat sink for the green hab. So the warm, moist air will come up and enter the tank here. Let me hop inside, show you what's inside there. So inside the tank, the air will come in to this structure here, which will split it up into these copper tubes, which will exchange heat from the air to the water surrounding them. As it does so, the air will cool, the water will condense, the water will drip down, and this is at a slight angle, so the water will run out right there, along with the cooled air. And then down the line, I'm going to have a air-water separator system. So I just performed some leak checks. Everything's good. So now filling the tank up with water. To get the water up here, I'm having to use 3 pumps because they can't lift it quite this high. They can only lift it about 6 feet at a time. So I'm lifting from the tanks down there to a tank there, up to there, and then finally up to here. So this device separates out the air from the water. So the air along with the water comes in here. The water will drip down to the bottom of this barrel. And this fitting here, when the water level rises up, it will siphon out, watering the garden, and then it will periodically repeat that process. This fitting here is an overflow in case that gets plugged for whatever reason. And then at the top, this fan is just a squirrel cage fan, which I've mounted into the lid, which will boost the air along. That's in case the thermal siphon effect is not sufficient to move the air. And this here is a cover, which is going to go over top of this to protect the blower from the elements and also provide a seal. So this doesn't actually seal very well. It's even got a vent hole here. I just need to put in some feed throughs for the power, and I'll probably also plumb in some air to pump dry air in. This will be where I'll be putting the air into the system if it needs to be replenished. So the cooling system should be functional now. All of the pipes are in place. A lot of them down there aren't glued because I'm not entirely sure if I don't want to change things later, but the air should at least be able to flow. And this tank, which I've added a cover to keep the sun off of it, to keep it from absorbing it, is almost full. You have a look in there. You can see that the copper pipes are mostly covered, so they should be able to absorb heat. I think it's a good time to run some tests. Let's see how effective at cooling it is. It's not quite noon, so we should be getting to the hottest part of the day. Let's go see how hot it is down there and see if it'll cool it. So here we are inside of the green hab. You can see the plants have grown quite a bit since the last time we were here. Look at that. And this is after harvesting roughly 2 kilograms of radishes. This has been very productive for me. It's producing all of the greens that I need to eat. I've also added a few buckets you can see. This one is a worm bin. There's some worms in there which will eat the scraps that I throw in, turn it to soil, and release CO2 that the plants can use. I've got some mushroom blocks doing a similar thing. This bucket has some potatoes. You see some potatoes sprouting up here. And this one has some perennial sunflowers, the Jerusalem artichokes. Now, I don't want to have those growing in the beds themselves because they're very hard to remove once you plant them, but in buckets it's okay. And I can kind of step over the bucket. Eventually these will grow to quite a large size, probably have to move them to another location. But for now, this is a convenient spot for them. Anyway, the temperature right now is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite hot. It's extremely humid. In fact, I think my camera's fogging up a little bit. So, one thing I wanted to know is if there is air moving naturally. So right now I don't have the fan turned on, and it looks like it is. There's some water dripping here. So what's happening is I'm thinking air is going up in there. It's cooling down on the sides of the pipe and the water is dripping back, which is why I planted liverwort and moss in this spot right here, because I know this is going to get dripped on. But just to confirm, I've got a piece of a black powder fuse here. We're going to see if the smoke gets sucked up into the pipe. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. Maybe. Oh yeah, it's definitely going up. The flow is very weak though, and because the door is not perfectly sealed, it's causing some turbulence. But let's go turn on the blower and see if it gets any cooler. See if we can lower the temperature a little. Okay, fan is turned on. I don't know if you can hear it running. I'm just using a battery and inverter for now. Let's go see if it makes a difference. One good thing about working inside of a sealed container is I don't have to worry about these Mormon crickets eating my crops. They can't get in. They're trying though. Alright, so here we are, back inside. And now you can see the flow. Sucking that leaf right in. Not quite as strong as I was hoping for though. I guess with all these pipes, the length and all the turns it makes, it's probably about what I can ask for. If we come over here, where the air is coming back, oh, I can already feel it's so much cooler right in this area, and less humid too. You can see I've got a little grate here to keep stuff from falling in there. You can see. It's making the leaf float. Oh, but yeah, there's like a spot with low humidity right here. Oh, I love it. So the temperature is still 90. Let's see what the temperature of the air coming out is. Just give it a few minutes to come to equilibrium. It's already come down 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's come to equilibrium. See, this radish right here is really nice. Not very many leaves, but a large bulb. Now I could either pick the radish, or I could let it go to seed. And I think I might do that, because it did so well in here. I want to reward that and have this be the next generation. This radish though, tiny bulb, lots of leaves. Yeah, that's getting picked. These two are also pretty good. Since they're close to this one, I might just leave them for cross-pollination. Is there any others here I need to pick? There's some arugula I've planted here, which is doing pretty good. There's some small radishes that I just planted. Some kale, lettuce, all kinds of stuff I've got growing. Let's see, there's a small radish which doesn't appear to be making a bulb. Let's get that out of there. There's a big one which is starting to bolt. Yeah. So, like I said, I've been trying to weigh things just to give an idea, so that adds another 100 grams to my total harvest. You'll notice I'm counting the total mass of the radish, not just the bulb. And that's because I like to eat the greens. The more mature leaves I'll peel off and give to the worms or the chickens. Anything with dirt on it I'll pull off as well. I'll give it a bit of a rinse with my watering can to get the dirt off. And standing here above this vent is so much nicer. Look at that, we've come down even a few more degrees. But I think the main difference is the humidity is lower, so it's actually able to evaporate my sweat. So anyway, let's take this. So here we are. Now, starting to go a little woody. Oh, it's pretty good. It's just a little bit spicy. Like normally you'd expect a radish that's gone woody to be very spicy, but I think growing in here makes them not as spicy. You know, it still has a little spice, but it's not like burning my nose or anything. And now for the greens. That's my favorite part right there. You know, look at this. The central stalk is in flavor and texture and even appearance is indistinguishable from a broccoli stalk. You know. All right. Good little snack. Looks like we've stopped at around 75 degrees. So it's come down about 15 degrees, so it's about 15 degrees cooler. So let's put this back over here. And let's wait a little while. See, the temperature's already coming back up because it's hotter over here. Let's see if the entire greenhouse can be cooled. I'll wait like an hour or something and I'll come back. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need more chickens. Look at this. So it's been about 45 minutes, not quite an hour, but I'm gonna have to cut it there. The inverter's telling me that the battery's almost dead. But you can see that the rate that the water's been coming out of this pipe has increased. So something's going on. You can see quite a few drips down there. The window's easier to look out. You get a clearer view because some of the moisture's evaporated. And the temperature has come down about 5 degrees, maybe 4. So that is definitely a decrease. It does work. And that's even considering that the sun has actually moved to a higher position in the sky. It's actually heating more. So yeah. But the main thing is the humidity has dropped. I'm not dripping with sweat like I was. My clothes don't feel as sticky. Even though the temperature's only gone down a little bit, the drop in humidity has made a huge difference. It's so much nicer to be in here. And the best part about it is that humidity is not being wasted. It's going up, it's being condensed, it's running into that barrel, and eventually is gonna find its way back down to water the plants. It's gonna be recycled. I'm not just wasting it by expelling it out into the atmosphere. I think that's really neat. And I think I could improve this a little bit better. Maybe we get a little bit more flow, cover the pipes so that the sunlight isn't heating them, that sort of thing. But I think that stuff is going to be for next episode. For now, I think I'm going to cut it there. This has been quite a bit of content, I think. I definitely need to thank the Patreons for making this possible. Channel members too now. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time.